So this week's going to be a little bit different. Apparently in Utah there's this craze called dirty soda, where they mix different types of sodas with various syrups, and most notably, coffee creamer. Now apparently this stems from the fact that Utah has a large number of Mormons, and Mormons can't drink coffee. So a few chains popped up, most notably Swig and Fizz with 2 I's. Or is it Fizz? Either way, I'll be making 4 concoctions, 2 from each of those chains, just to see if they are at all any good, because these combos sound a little bit weird on paper. First up, from Swig, I've got the Big Al, which is the most tame sounding of the bunch. We start with some Coca-Cola. Really, this one is supposed to have Diet Coke, but I'm not going to suffer any more than I have to, so Coke it is. Just for consistency, I'll be using a measuring shot, and I'm going to try to use the same amount of soda in each of these. So into that glass of Coke, I'll add 1.5 ounces of coconut syrup. These are those syrups you see in coffee shops with pumps in them. So normally at the soda chains, they would use those pumps, but I'm kind of guessing how much each pump would dole out. Maybe this is way too much syrup. And I'm going to slice and squeeze some fresh limes. And add in 1.5 ounces of that lime juice. And a nice handful of ice cubes, because these sodas are room temperature. And this one is very nice. It's like a pina colada with Coke. Very refreshing, very light, tropical. Yeah, nothing too crazy about this one. Next up is the Christopher Robin from Fizz. And this one uses root beer, which in and of itself is a divisive issue. I know that a lot of people outside of the States don't understand why we like root beer. I've heard it tastes like medicine, and I can understand that if you had medicine that tasted like root beer, you would draw some negative connotations to the flavor of root beer. But for us, it's just a interesting, tasty kind of drink. To that, I'll add a shot of coconut syrup, a shot of raspberry syrup, and here it is, the Coffee Mate non-dairy creamer. Top that off with some ice cubes. Give it a stir with a bar spoon, just for consistency of apparatus. And this one is actually alright. It's a bit like a root beer float, if you've ever had that, but with the addition of raspberry. Now, raspberry flavor, as always, is a bit more powerful than everything else, so this one needed a little bit more coconut syrup. But once I added that, the coconut balanced out the tartness of the raspberry, and it was actually pretty good. The cream just adds the same creaminess that ice cream would bring to a root beer float, so it's really not that far-fetched when you think about it. Next up, along the same vein of root beer, is Dr. Pepper. So this one's called the Captain Jack Sparrow, also from Fizz. To that, I'll add a shot of coconut syrup, a shot of raspberry syrup, a shot of pineapple syrup, and some creamer. And I don't know what to make of this one. Everything kind of blends together with the taste of Dr. Pepper. Kind of gets a cherry Coke kind of vibe, even though there's no cherry in here whatsoever. But you really don't taste the pineapple or the coconut or the raspberry individually. They all kind of just turn into their own unique flavor. I don't know, not my cup of tea. And finally, for the weirdest and definitely most vibrant colored one, we've got the Do-Gooder from Swig. So I've got some Mountain Dew, to which I will add some pineapple syrup, some of that fresh squeezed lime juice. Next, I'll puree some fresh raspberries into a raspberry puree. And as if the Mountain Dew didn't already have a vibrant enough color, these raspberries really turn it into something else. It's got a real artificially tropical kind of color. And to amp up the artificial tropicality, I'm going to add in some coconut cream. Now this is one ingredient that I wasn't too sure of. A lot of times when you see coconut cream, they really mean coconut milk, so hopefully this is the right thing. I'll add that in along with some ice, give it a good stir. And right off the bat, this one has way too much raspberry, so I had to add in a little bit of everything else, just so this flavor is made somewhat of an appearance. And after that, this kind of tastes like one of those cheap frozen daiquiris that you get in giant cups. It is very sweet, very fruity. You don't really taste the coconut. It doesn't have enough oomph to power through all that raspberry flavor. Maybe the coconut syrup would have fared better, but beyond that, the Mountain Dew totally gets overpowered. It's really just a background note, if anything. I really don't know what's going on here. It is just a whole mess of flavors that just overpower each other. But if you're into just cloying sweetness and vibrant colors, then go for it. So how about you guys? Have you ever tried any dirty sodas? Have you heard of them before? If you're an active patron of Swig or Fizz or any of the other chains, what's your go-to drink? I want to know what the best concoctions are, and if I even scratched the surface.